What happened to Craig Zen? Did he stop making music? Where is he now? Well, I think it's about time we find out. Let's dive into it. Born October 24th, 1994, Craig Godwin, better known simply by his stage name Craig Zen, is a former rapper from Houston, Texas. Now the reason I say former rapper is because in 2019, Craig would officially retire from rapping and distance himself from the music world. Now this came as a shock to a lot of people, but for some people it was no surprise at all. Before we can figure out why the rapper Craig Zen would retire from music, I think we should first take a look back at when he started his rap career. So in February 2016, which was shortly after he released his song Bare Flesh, Craig Zen featured in an interview on the No Jumper podcast. Now I actually remember watching this interview back in the day around the time it came out, and when I think about it, I guess it does seem like a pretty long time ago. I vividly remember Craig Zen talking as if he was an OG in the game already, like he's been rapping for years. And well, I guess that's because he has. In this interview on No Jumper, he spoke about how he was mostly raised by his mother as his father was locked in prison at the time, causing Craig to be alone quite often with nothing but his thoughts in his mind and perhaps a pen and paper. His father would actually be a large part of how Craig ended up rapping though. His dad was always around local rappers at the time, and his uncle had even produced a track for Ghetto Boys. Now, although being born in Houston, Craig would end up moving around a lot and living in places like Miami and LA. Eventually, Craig would practice rapping and writing down rhymes with his cousin at the very young age of 6. He would perform and rap in front of his family, mostly as a joke, but it was around 2010 that Craig would take rapping seriously, when he first heard rappers like Lil B and Eminem. Craig saying he was pretty much obsessed with the movie 8 Mile. He was easily able to relate to the pain Eminem was expressing in the film, but also in M's album The Eminem Show. He would state that he also got his inspiration to make music from bands like Linkin Park and Green Day. Craig would be observing his cousin and uncle as they would be making beats and recording music. This eventually lit a fire under him to believe in himself that he could start rapping over these beats as well. Craig's first song was released in April of 2013 on SoundCloud titled HDAB, featuring his cousin K-Rillo. He would go on to record 4 or 5 songs with his cousin and around 2 songs recorded with his uncle. Craig would later on add the word Zen to his name to form his now known stage name Craig Zen. This came from his years in high school when Craig was interested in spirituality and practiced meditation frequently. But it was not until August of 2015 that he would release his tracks with the style we now know of, with songs like Dark Water and Bare Flesh. Now everybody knows Craig Zen was in Members Only, but long before that, in 2015, he would end up joining the underground rap collective known as Schema Posse. This group included rappers like Jay Green, Ghost Main, and Lil Peep. And this is where Craig really started to get noticed in the community. In the year 2016, Craig would go on to release songs like Death to He Who Crossed Me and 6 Men, 1 Casket. I remember these songs coming out and I had them on replay pretty much instantly. It always surprised me the small amount of attention that he got when he was coming up. Probably one of the most underrated rappers of all time, to be honest. He would also end up making multiple songs with Lil Peep around this time, when they would release the tracks like Blueberry Lemonade and California World. In February of 2016, he released a brand new track titled Goodfellas with Puya and Shakewell. It was later on in 2016 that Craig would join the fast expanding Members Only. Members Only starting out as a rap duo of X and Ski Mask the Slump God. The group quickly grew, picking up new artists along the way, one of them being Craig Zen. He would end up featuring on 4 songs from the Members Only Volume 3 mixtape released on June 26, 2017. Then in October of the same year, Craig would release his debut album under the label Cruel World, titled Voltage. He would follow this hard-hitting studio album up 1 year later with his second album, Hellbent, in May of 2018. This was a 12-song album featuring not one but two songs with Wi-Fi's Funeral, who also disappeared and retired from music, but that is a story for another video. The rap collective Members Only would drop their debut album Members Only Volume 4 on January 23rd of 2019. This album came in at number 18 on the US Billboard 200, with Craig Zen featuring on 8 of the songs. This brings us to the summer of 2019, when he would collaborate with other artists making a song titled Death Note. At this point, Craig had already made a name for himself and was very popular, but it was with this song that he really started to take off. This song having over 74 million streams on Spotify alone. It was only a few days later he would release the brand new single off his upcoming EP titled Broken Kids Club. This was Run It Back with X. This EP would feature collabs with not only X, but also rappers like Smoke Perp and The Slump God. The EP was released on June 19th of 2019, which leads us to X's After Death album Bad Vibes Forever, featuring a song titled The Only Time I Feel Alive with Craig Zen. Now, despite being heavily affected by the tragic loss of X in the summer of 2018, Craig still went on to make amazing music because on August 7th, 2020, he released a brand new EP titled God Is Watching. This featured 5 solo tracks and gave us fans high hopes to see more music from him. A few months later, that's exactly what we got. Craig would drop a song titled Flicking Ash along with a music video, and turns out this would be a single off his upcoming studio album. This new album titled Why, which was released on December 1st, 2020. Sadly, this would be his last official album, coming out not long after Craig had confirmed he will be retiring from music. In the following year, 2021, Craig, to everyone's surprise, would actually go on tour with Rob Banks for a bit, doing shows in places like Chicago. But then he kind of went silent. We haven't really heard from him at all. So then what happened? Why, after all these years, would Craig Zen decide to quit rapping and go into retirement? Well, to answer this, we have to take a look back at the year 2017. In this year, Craig and X would get super into the gaming scene, and this would include Twitch live streaming. Apparently, ever since 2017, Craig has been talking about leaving the rap world and moving on to something else. This was, of course, just rumors at that point. But soon enough, this rumor would become a reality. About 2 years after the death of his close friend X, Craig's little brother would end up passing away on January 2nd, 2020. This was finally the nail in the coffin for Craig's music career, and understandably so. I couldn't really find any details of his brother's passing, but to be honest, I feel like that's something we shouldn't be digging up anyway. Craig replied to a comment on Twitter, the comment saying, "Wonder what happened with Craig Zen?" He replied to this saying, "My little brother passing away on January 2nd fucked me up pretty bad. I've been creating now more than I have in years. Going to be releasing a lot this year, but in turn, won't be maintaining too much online social presence." So to answer the question of what happened to Craig Zen, it's simple. He lost his emotional energy to create music after the tragic loss of both X and his little brother. I think it's fair to say one of, if not the best friend of Craig was X. I'm sure some of you remember X being tackled on stage and it actually looked like Craig was ready to kill somebody. I don't think you'd let just anybody use a taser on you. Craig also still has family in Houston, Texas, and I believe he's spending more time with them to take care of them and just focusing on other things right now other than rap music. Despite posting a tweet in 2019 saying mental health on E, reports of people being around Craig Zen as of now say he seems to be in good spirits and doing good mentally. Maybe better than we thought, because just recently on January 20th of 2024, Craig released his first song after 4 years, titled Monsters in Your Dreams with Cooley Cut. Now listening to the song, you can easily tell Craig is still in pain, but it's a good sign to see him still releasing music again and putting that pain into his songs. He is one of the very few rappers that made music not for the money or to be famous, but because that's what he loved to do. I hope we can see more music from him in the future. As a fan, I would love to see another solo album before the year 2030, but if he truly is done with rap and will only be dropping the odd song here and there, I think I'm fine with that also. So let me know your thoughts on this in the comments down below. See you on the next dive.